we have to talk about Stellantis, right? So, Barnard apparently has been signed by the Penske organization, which would gather or would make sense that it would be Maximilian Gunther, who is pretty much confirmed. He said it in a press conference that he is contracted, he's a Penske driver for next season. So that means Barnard and Gunther potentially in the DS Penske next season, which is confusing because it leaves Jean-Éric Vergne. Now, Jean-Éric Vergne, then you'd assume, would go to Maserati, or is he going to leave the series?
Which will be Citroen.
Which will be Citroen, potentially, yes. So then you think, okay, and Nick Cassidy is signed for a Stellantis powertrain, so Nick Cassidy might be going into that Citroen Maserati seat, alongside Jean-Éric Vergne. However, Stoffel Vandoorne stated in Berlin that he has a contract with Stellantis for next season. So as far as he is aware, he is in a seat. Plus you got Jake Hughes, assuming Jake Hughes' contract ends at this season. But at the moment they've got 6 drivers, 4 seats. What's going to happen? What do you think is going to happen there?
Well, the Vandoorne one is the sort of big one there, because so obviously Gunter's got, well, I say obviously, I mean, like, yeah, but we believe Gunter's got a long-term contract with
correct.
Penske.
And he stated
that. Which I want to point out, that's with Penske and not with Stellantis.
Correct.
So there we go. But the thing is, as far as we're aware, no one's switching up powertrains for next year.
No.
If people are switching up powertrains for next year, that's a little bit wild. I don't think it's illegal. I think it's just a little bit wild.
I don't know. But anyway, but more like
no, I know.
Penske...
I think you are allowed to switch powertrains. It would just be weird doing it mid-cycle.
Maybe. Anyway, but Penske, right?
But yeah,
a link to go with Nissan, right? So they're breaking away and potentially having.
Wait, what?
I think it was Nissan.
Penske would link with Porsche because their WEC outfit.
Yeah, 100%.
Even though even though Penske Formula E has got nothing to do with Penske WEC and Penske IndyCar, because even though they share a name, one's Jay Penske's organisation, the other is Roger Penske.
Yeah, but
I think that's right.
Same. But
yeah, no, it's the same name and everything. So
they're rumored to change. So, but the thing is, obviously, Jean-Éric Vergne has been the DS Golden Boy since season 2, right? When it was Envision Virgin Racing, he was brought across. Yeah. And he's been with
the DS Virgin Racing,
the DS ever since.
But
right?
Interestingly, that powertrain was called a Citroen. So even though it's DS, but yeah, it would be intriguing to see Jev walk away. But the thing is, like, we're saying that, Jev walking away from DS would be huge, whereas we've said in the past, Antonio Felix da Costa leaving BMW would be huge, and that's what he did, and so it wouldn't be too much of a shock.
But then he's going to the B team, but he's staying in the family, sort of, with the Stellantis group.
That's if he goes. That's if he stays with Stellantis.
Yeah.
This is the thing. So if we're going off of what people have said the contracts are with, we believe Gunter said he's staying. The rumour is that Barnard's going. The rumour is that Cassidy's going. And Vandoorne has said that he's got a contract, which means there's your 4.
Yeah.
So Verne's out, and so is Hughes. Hughes isn't that much of a surprise.
Yeah.
Obviously, we kind of expected him to stay on because he's only just come into the fold for this season.
If that McLaren team had stayed on, by the way, I wouldn't be surprised. Like the McLaren team, but the Ian James team, I wouldn't be surprised if Jake Hughes would have found himself back at that team. But at this moment, I'm very confused where Jake Hughes will find himself. But
I think Jake's best options are maybe like a
Cooper Kiro. Yeah, that's the main.
Or trying to scramble his way into Jaguar, or seeing what's happening at Porsche.
I think, Porsche. I don't know what's going on. Because
Porsche's just such a weird situation.
It depends. I honestly, the Porsche situation, I think, depends on Da Costa. It depends on where he decides to go, and if Da Costa decides to leave, then that will be a domino effect of potential moves in the off season. But if he decides to stay, then there's less movement. But I do think a Dan Ticktum, Jake Hughes team is likely. The hilarious thing is, if Van Dorn has a contract and they stick with that contract, so then it's in the Stellantis cars, it's Van Dorn and Cassidy, and then in the DS Penske, it's Barnard and Gunther. The fact that Jean-Éric Vergne is out of a seat seems crazy. It seems ludicrous because despite him not, it seems like he's kind of just fallen away. He's like this yesteryear driver, and maybe that's a really harsh way to put it, but it feels like a Fernando Alonso in Formula One. Like, he's good, but he's not at the top anymore, right? And it feels like that with Jean-Éric Vergne.
I beg to differ, because look at what he did on Sunday.
That's what I was going to say, because he can show you that but Alonso could do the same.
Where in the championship? Where is he in the championship? He's
fifth or sixth.
Been consistent. He's been consistent
he's been
all season.
And that
he's like his entire season. Like, he's barely been out of the points. He's sixth in the championship.
Yeah. But it's not incredible,
and that's within a race win of Taylor Barnard in P3.
Gunther's won a race this season, right back to
Gunther's run two races. Gunther's had the higher highs, but he's had the lower lows as well. And that's the thing with Max Gunther.
Jean-Éric Vergne hasn't
had that consistency.
Jean-Éric Vergne hasn't had that highs in a long time, right? And that's his issue. But
he's still.
I'm not saying he's a bad driver. I think he's brilliant, right?
He's still fighting. He's still fighting at the front. He's still constantly getting points. He got a podium the other day. The thing is, this is a very difficult series to win in.
He could be out, but what we're saying here is he could be out of Formula E.
Yeah.
Where's he going to go?
Yeah. He might just stick with Peugeot in WEC. And like SB10 pointed out in chat, he's got very deep Stellantis ties, and so if it's not with Citroen or whatever the team's going to be called next year, Maserati, then we might say goodbye to Jean-Éric Vergne in a couple of weeks' time. We've sort of come to terms with Sam leaving the sport. But I think Jev leaving the sport as well would be.
I can't see Jev leaving.
A very big blow. Right. I mean, personally, I can't see him leaving. He's still rather young. He's only early 30s, mid 30s.
Mid 30s.
When did he? So he did F1 2012 to 20.
So 2012
14
is 13 years ago. So if he's in his early 20s,
like, he must have been about 22 when he joined.
So that's 35.
He was born in the 90s. He's 35.
So 35.
He's 35. But the thing is, you've got Sam leaving makes sense. He's almost 40, and he can go and help McLaren develop their WEC project.
Yes.
And I think everyone sort of made peace with that. But Jev's going while he's still at his game. Obviously, we were saying that Buemi was going to go,
but he's
had this. The thing is, Buemi had such a long drought of just nothing, and then boom, Monaco, the win that.
And it kind of turned.
I think everyone celebrated that win. The same with Mitch on Saturday. Everyone celebrated that win, regardless of whether you like the drivers or not. You just pleased to see them back at the front. And Seb's now gone on this form, and he
wants to stay.
We're now talking about whether he might be around for Gen 4.
And even Robin Fries.
The thing is, like, whereas your Sams, your Lucases, it feels like it's their time to.
We think Lucas will be on the grid next season anyway with Lola.
Lucas will be on the grid next year.
I think.
Originally, he said. When I spoke to him a couple of years ago, he didn't think that he'd be around for Gen 4. I think now he's seen what the Gen 4 car's like, I think he will stick around for at least a couple years. But
So Robin Fries as well, he's kind of shown how strong he was this weekend, and you're thinking, but if Verne then, if we're talking about Da Costa, right? If we're talking about Da Costa going to Jaguar, and if Verne is out of a seat, then if you're Jaguar, that's a tough choice, because if you've got Verne and Da Costa of who to choose from, that's tough, right? But then does Verne want to stay in the series and maybe join Dan Ticktor at Cooper Kiro, for example, because we're not expecting David Beckman to be in that.
Wait, sorry, you saying Jev to Cooper Kiro?
Well, you've got to think, if he's out, let's say he's out, right? He's out.
No.
He doesn't. Let's say he doesn't have a seat.
This is a Stellantis or done.
No. But you don't see him going to Jaguar. So you think he'd just walk away from the whole series if he doesn't? So if he's not in a Stellantis, he'd walk away.
Yes.
Because I could see him. Why can't he go to Jaguar?
Because his ties with Stellantis.
Because of the WEC programs.
Yeah, because of WEC as well.
Okay. So you think it's interesting, this, isn't it?
Like, yeah, I just don't see it happening. The thing is, like I said earlier, I never saw Da Costa leaving BMW, and he left to join Techeetah, and look at how that fared. He won in his first championship. It was his first year. It was his first year in DS Techeetah. He won that championship,
and then he moves on to Porsche.